Okay, while we're waiting for it to go on, I just started to record. So for those of you who are not at class, I just want to say the domain and range that I added on the page that was handed out yesterday is not compulsory for you to write it down when you draw the graph. I just put it there because someone in the other classes asked me to give the domains and the range how it is every time, so you can just learn it. So that doesn't have to go with the graph. It's just when they ask for the domain and the range. Alright, so we have to mark 18 number 1. That was question 7 on your pages. Question 5. Okay. So they gave me two functions, the equations of the two functions, and the one was a quadratic function, and the other one was a hyperbola. Calculate the coordinates of the x and the y-intercept of G. So there I calculated both of them. The x-intercept is -1 and 0, and the y-intercept is 0 and 1. Did you all get that? Sure? Right, calculate the coordinates of the x-intercepts of f, so that's normal factorization. Now listen to me, you are allowed to square that bracket out and then multiply the the half into it and then get it to a trinomial and factorize it. But I'm going to show it to you again, finding the value of x when it's in PQ form. We did that when we completed the square. So it's actually much easier. You take the -2 to the left-hand side. It becomes +2. Then you divide both with a half. Dividing with a half is multiplying with 2. So it becomes 4. Then you take the square root on both sides. And you just have to remember, when you take the square root there, it's plus and minus for your answer. And then you take the -4 over, and it becomes +4, and then your intercepts will be 6 and 2. Do you all understand? Alright. Then you had to sketch the graphs. So I just made a summary for myself at this side to see all the things that I'm going to need. So those are the things that you remember on that page that you're going to get marks for. So with the hyperbola, it's the asymptote, x equal to 1 and y equal to -1, and then the intercepts. With the quadratic function, it's the turning point. It must be there. The two x-intercepts and then the y-intercept. So remember, you guys were doing this in class yesterday, and then I told you guys that you must also add the y-intercept and also the turning point. Those of you who missed the turning point, that you put it in. Okay. So when you draw the graph, it should look something like this. Oh, it's very light now. So my hyperbola has got the x equal to 1 asymptote and a y equal to -1 asymptote. My two intercepts, and then I could draw the curve on this side, and then I just reflect and copy the curve in the fourth quadrant. With the quadratic function, y-intercept labeled, x-intercepts labeled, turning point labeled, join the points. Did you get it right? Okay. Then the next one, write down the range of G. G is the hyperbola. So it's y is the element of real numbers, and then you exclude the asymptote y not equal to negative 1. What is the minimum value of f of x? You can say y equal to negative 2. That's the minimum value of f of x. Remember, if you felt unsure whether you should write the x value, the 4 or the negative 2, remember f of x is y. So they're actually asking what's the minimum value of the y values of f when they say f of x. And then the last one, for which values of x will both f of x and g of x increase as x increases. So if you look at the graph, the parabola is decreasing up to the turning point. After the turning point, it's increasing. And then the hyperbola is also increasing there. So I'm not even going to look at the hyperbola there. It's increasing there as well. No? But the quadratic is decreasing. So therefore, it's going to be from this turning point to infinity. Both of them are going to increase. Now, let's see with the including and excluding. Should I include that value? Right there, that 4. No, I don't include it because remember, we said at that point, at the turning point, the graph is not decreasing or increasing. It's a constant value. So you can't say it's increasing. You can't include it. So it's going to be from 4 to infinity. Neither included. Okay, do you all understand? Do you feel comfortable with it? Panel. No, don't make a rule that I'm never going to include a turning point. Because it depends on what the question is. If they ask for the range of this graph, you would include the turning point's value because it's part of the range, it's part of the y values. But when they're asking for decreasing and increasing, you can never include the turning point because at the turning point the graph is constant. But you need to know when the turning point is included and when it's not included. Ne? So don't just get it into your head, I never include the turning point because the question might be different. Okay. Right, then I asked you to do the one on page, what was it, 25? Okay. This one, they say determine the values of x for which f of x is equal to 0. So f of x is most y. So they're actually asking you to find the x-intercepts. And the two x-intercepts were 0 and negative 3. Did you get it right? Yes. Calculate the coordinates of P, the turning point of F. So I got it into standard form first because that is not standard form. X bracket x plus 3 is not standard form. I can't complete the square when it's in that format, and I can't find the value of a and b when it's in that format. So I need it in standard form. That's standard form. So can you see a is 1, b is 3, and c is 0 if you wanted c's value. And look, it makes sense because it's in the y-intercept is at the origin where c is 0. Okay, so what I did is I completed the square and then I also did it with negative b over 2a. Okay, so completing the square, half of 3 is 3 over 2 squared. I add it and I subtract it. then that makes a perfect square. So it's x plus that one square root, close the bracket, negative 4, and then the turning point is the negative value of b and the q value just as it is. If you used negative b over 2a, just substitute into it, then you also get negative 3 over 2. Then you take that value, substitute into your equation, you also get negative 9 over 4. Alright, the next one, they said determine the average gradient of the curve between f between x equal to negative 5 and negative 3. Now the thing is, with the average gradient, I need a coordinate. Now I only have the x value, so I substituted the negative 5 and the negative 3, although I already had the negative 3 value because it's one of my intercepts, but I just substituted both of them, and then I got a y value as well. So my coordinate is negative 5 and 10 and negative 3 and 0. And then I could substitute into the gradient formula, and I got an answer of negative 5. Okay, hence state what you can deduce about the function f between x equal to negative 5 and x equal to negative 3. So they are actually asking you, what does a gradient of negative 5 mean? So the first thing that what it means is that it is decreasing. The graph is decreasing because of the negative. And then what does the 5 mean? It means it's decreasing with 5 y values for every one x value. Does that make sense? Because it's most y over x. So it's 5 over 1. 5 y values for every one x value. If it was 1 over 5, it would be decreasing with 1 y value for every 5 x values. Do you understand how we write the rate? So therefore, I said the function decreases with a rate of 5 y values for every one x value. Then determine the values of x for which f of x is greater than 0. How did it go with that question? Were you able to answer it? No? Greater than 0 is at the top. So if I look at the graph, I will open that now. If I look at the graph, it's from here to here and then from here to here. But they're only asking greater than. So I know I'm going to exclude my intercepts. What value does that point represent? Negative infinity to negative 3 and then 0 to infinity. None of them included. Froze. Okay, give the coordinates of the turning point of f of x minus 2. So what I did is I wrote my function in PQ format. Do you remember I told you guys that when you do the transformation with a quadratic function, it must be in PQ form, right? Because if you think about the hyperbola and the exponential graph, when we do a horizontal transformation, we add and subtract to P. When we do a vertical transformation, we add and subtract to Q. But when it's not in PQ form, the quadratic function, I can't just do the additional subtraction. So I got it into PQ form, and then I subtracted 2 at P. And then my answer is x minus a half, I need a square there, minus 9 over 2. So therefore, the turning point of this new graph will be at a half and negative 9/4. Are you done? Okay. Then 7.7, they said L is a point on the straight line and M is a point on the parabola, such that LM is perpendicular to the x-axis. Show that the expression for LM can be written as LM equal to that plus that. Did you all know that this is the same question as that one that we did yesterday, the last one? Did you recognize it? Okay, I hope so. So how do we get to the length of LM? Is we say the straight line minus the quadratic function. So I say straight line, negative a half x plus 2 minus the quadratic. And then I simplified it to get a trinomial. Now they wanted you to show this thing after you've completed the square. Now you can either complete the square. You would get to the right answer if you use negative b over 2a as well. Okay. So negative b over 2a, get the answer, take your answer, substitute into it. Then you need to know you've gotten the turning point of this function. But then you'd have to be able to substitute it into the correct format as well. So I think the safer bet is to use complete the square. So I take out a negative in the first two terms. Then I've got 7, I wrote that 3.5 as 7/2. Then I get half of it, which is 7/4. And I square it, and I add it, and I also subtract it. Then the first three terms make out a perfect square. So it's that one's square root, that one's sine, that one's square root, 7/4. And then that 7/4 squared, the minus one, needs to get out and go to the friend outside. So it's going to multiply with this sign, it becomes plus. So I just use my calculator and I say 2 plus 49/16. And I got 81/16. And there I've proved it. Exactly what they put there on the question paper. Do you all understand it? Are you sure? (7.8) Hence state the maximum length of LM. What's the maximum length? What is the maximum length? 81/16 is the maximum length. And then they asked, what is the corresponding x value? What is the x value that will give you that answer? Negative b. Oh, yeah, negative b. So I'm going to say the x is negative 7/4 and the max is 81/16. Remember, p and q goes together. They are friends. You know why it's negative, no? So that's the x, and the maximum value is 18/16. Hence means because of this, after this, using this, answer this question. So they are saying you need to use this formula or this answer to answer the next question. Grade 11s, do you have any questions? Any question about the straight line? Anything about the quadratic function? Anything about hyperbola? Anything about exponential? Do you know how to calculate the point of intersection when two graphs cut each other? Let them be equal, no? Is there anything I can help you with? Are you good? Are you fine? Then you can go. Okay. You can stay as well and work. You've got no, we skipped a lot or a couple that you can look at. If you do you remember we skipped question 2 on that Eastern Cape paper? Remember that one? Let's just quickly talk about that one before you guys go, the ones that want to go. So Tiamu's going to be out the door in 3 seconds. Let's quickly go through it. It's on page 15. All right. The first one, the coordinates of the y-intercept of the graph of f. Y-intercept is you make x 0. Anything to the power of 0 is? 1. So it's 1 and 0 and 1. The equations of the asymptotes of f and h. What is f's asymptote? That just means x is an element of real numbers. You can substitute anything into the place of x. It's y equal to 0. There's no asymptote. Can you see that? And h, x is equal to 0. Y is equal to 5. Easy, ne? Which functions are decreasing? Let's take a minute to look at f. F's base is a fraction. You know what the exponential function looks like when it's a fraction and it's positive. When it's a whole number, it's increasing. You must know this from like at the tips of your fingers, ne? When that number is, for instance, 5, it will start at the bottom and go up. When it's a fraction, it will start at the top and go down. So that one is decreasing. This one is a straight line. X over 5, it's a straight line. Do you agree with that? It's like saying I have a fifth x. Is that graph increasing or decreasing? That straight line. It's positive, so it's increasing. The hyperbola is positive. So it's in the first and the third quadrant. In the third quadrant, it's going to go down. It's decreasing. In the first quadrant, it's starting at the top and going down. So it's decreasing. So which graphs are decreasing? F and H. The next question would be to sketch them. You'd be able to do that, ne? Easy peasy. Asymptotes, x and y intercepts, draw it. Write the equation of the graph obtained by reflecting f in the y-axis. What do we do when I reflect in the y-axis? Negative. I put a negative in front of x. So if I put a negative in front of that x, how is that thing going to change? It's going to flip around. So it's going to be 5 to the power of x. Do you understand that? Give the equation of the graph obtained by shifting g vertically up 5 units. So the straight line, if I move it up 5 units, what's the function going to be? It's going to be x over 5 plus 5. Easy, ne? It's not difficult. So you've still got these others that we haven't even done that you can go and look at. You can practice it. At the top of most of them, you'll see which paper it is. Yeah, like this is all from Eastern Cape 12. If you need the memo, Google. Just type in Google, Math, grade 11, November 2009, Eastern Cape. memo and see if you can get it. And if you can't get a memo or you have a question, please, you are welcome to send me a message and I will help you as far as I can. Just one thing. Question 8 on page 20. That's a trig graph. Okay, we're not doing that now. So you don't have to do the trigonometry graphs. So don't get to that one and then get anxious because you have no idea what's going on. We are not doing that one now. Right. But the rest, I think, is all algebraic functions. So you can look at it, work it out. Okay. Tata tsiamu.